Now, all you people out there who say that tariffs don't work and, you know, all this stuff. Well, we just got a huge announcement. Listen to this. This is absolutely amazing.
I think that led to a great deal of the productivity we've seen. We will be giving details tomorrow. But I can tell you that the talks were productive. We had the vice premier, 2 vice ministers who were integrally involved, Ambassador Jameson and myself. And I spoke to President Trump, as did Ambassador Jameson last night, and he is fully informed of what is going on. So there will be a complete briefing tomorrow morning. Okay, so that is President Trump's openly gay Treasury Secretary. They made the trade deal with China. That's it. They made the deal, and we're going to get the details tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll be talking about it, of course, in more detail. But it works. You know, you people out there who continue to say tariffs don't work. What's Trump's? Look at this. We got the big deal with the UK. Now we've got the big deal with China, and these are 2 of the big kahunas. Okay, especially China, right? This is an amazing thing. You know, the United States has tremendous amounts of power beyond our military. More powerful than our military is our monetary strength, right? And all of these countries around the world need us, not just because we're the richest country in the world with the largest economy, but we're the largest consumer nation. We are the consumer of all of their stuff. Okay, and it was only a matter of time before they started, like dominoes, falling, and this is quick. And, you know, in China, you know, they have a lot of these billionaires in China, and they don't want this. Okay, they don't want a trade war. They want to keep the supply chain going. The supply chain slows down. The supply chain stops. They're not happy. They're out of business. And they put the pressure on them, and it happened. So that's huge, and I cannot wait to get the details of that tomorrow. But we have the China trade deal. It's a done deal. Other news, and this is amazing. Zalinsky has agreed to meet personally with Putin. I mean, this is amazing stuff. Fox News reporting Ukrainian President Zalinsky has agreed to meet face-to-face with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Turkey. Putin initially proposed a Thursday meeting this weekend, and President Trump prompted Zalinsky to accept the offer. Putin said the talks in Istanbul must be held without preconditions and with the goal of a lasting peace. We await a full and lasting ceasefire starting from tomorrow to provide the necessary basis for diplomacy. There's no point in prolonging the killings, and I will be waiting for Putin in Turkey on Thursday. Personally, I hope that this time the Russians will not look for excuses, Zalinsky wrote. By the way, you're listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast. I'm Brian Craig. Thanks for tuning in. President Trump encouraged Zalinsky to accept Putin's meeting earlier on Sunday. Ukraine and Russia are currently under a ceasefire, marking the end of the end of the Second World War in Europe. So, boom, we got the trade deal with Russia. We got the trade deal with China. We got the peace summit coming with Zalinsky and Putin personally, in person, one-on-one with each other. And it's all because of President Trump. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? It absolutely is. And yeah. I mean, this is, you always got to trust in Trump. Trump is always right. He knows what he's doing, and he always wins. And things are happening, and they're happening quick. And they're happening the way that President Trump wants them to happen. He's been these things are all being negotiated behind the scenes. He's been working on all of this. Okay, and boom, these are 2 massive stories. Remember, they gave Obama the Nobel Peace Prize before he even did anything. Remember that? And they gave it to him for future expectations. President Trump should get a Nobel Peace Prize for each of these things: equalizing the tariffs and ending the war with Russia and Ukraine. Now, this is just the first meeting, but meeting in person, that's huge. Zalinsky doesn't even recognize, really, Zalinsky as the president of anything. He thinks Ukraine is Russia.
And we all know how Zalinsky feels about Putin. To get these two guys face to face is a miracle, and President Trump accomplished it. The new Pope we have, Pope Leo, he has two brothers. The Chicago brother you see the most, but he also has a brother here in Florida. And I saw one interview with his Florida brother, and I just assumed, because he's in Florida, that he's conservative, that he's MAGA. And sure enough, he is. We don't know about the Pope Chicago brother, but his Florida brother is, no doubt about it, is MAGA. Okay? And let me pull this up, because this is a couple of things here that show how MAGA he is. This is also a Mediaite. Let me read this article. His older brother, Lou, this is the Pope's brother, Lou, lives in Port Charlotte, Florida. He's very vocal on social media about world events. His Facebook page is one that screams MAGA grandpa and was flagged and then authenticated by the Daily Beast. So listen to what he wrote. Now, the Florida brother's name is Lou, the Pope's brother. On April 18th, the Pope's brother Lou shared a video meme on Facebook for a mock support group for liberals struggling to cope with a second Trump administration. He commented, "For my upset, crying, and left-leaning friends and others suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, this service seems right for you." On April 4th, the Pope's brother shared a video of Representative Nancy Pelosi from the 1990s going to bat for hitting China with tariffs. Pelosi has since changed her stance on the tariff issue. The Pope's brother Lou also alluded to a baseless conspiracy. Again, I'm reading from Mediaite, which is left wing. He alluded to a conspiracy theory that accused Pelosi's husband of being romantically involved with the man who broke into their home and attacked him with a hammer. The Pope's brother also shared a post from another Facebook user who commented, "These effing liberals crying about tariffs is just unreal. Do they not know there is a thing called video? Just listen to what this drunk," and they use the C word, you can figure out what that is, about Pelosi, has to say in the mid-1990s, long before her husband had Grindr dates. And then there's the video here. The Pope's brother Lou also is a supporter of Elon Musk and Doge, and he also is against all the gender nonsense, okay? On February 21st, the Pope's brother shared a meme of a blue-haired liberal with her child at a doctor's office that was captioned, your child isn't trans, you're just a crappy parent. Although it had the S word, SH, the SH word instead of crappy. This is the Pope's brother. Okay. A day after President Trump won the 2024 election, the Pope's brother Lou wrote this on social media. "I tolerated Obama for 8 years and kept quiet. Here is my issue with the whole, let us all be a United States again, that we heard from Joe Biden for the last 4+ years. The Democrats have gone scorched earth. You have salted the fields, and now you want to grow crops. The problem is 75+ million of us have memories longer than a hamster." So he's MAGA. He voted for Trump, and he's now he may slow down on these kind of posts on his Facebook, but the Pope's brother is 100% MAGA. Beyond politics, the Pope's Florida brother, who will now be forever known as the brother of the Pope, has hobbies that include theater, nature, and a little drinking here and there, according to his Facebook account. He told the Tampa Bay News last week that his little brother was always drawn to the faith. Yes. So, I don't know how your family is, but almost my entire family, even extended family, are MAGA. In fact, in my family, we only have one Democrat. That's Kathy's brother, okay? But everybody else in the family is MAGA, is Republican. In fact, my mother voted for President Trump in this last election. My mother is going to be 74 years old this year. It's the first time she voted Republican in her life, okay? And she's retired. And, she's been working hard her whole life,
And since she's retired, she was paying more attention to the news, plus the grocery price. She would call me and she'd say, "Brian, I just went to the grocery store. I spent $150 and it's like in one bag. I'm carrying in one arm. It's not even, I don't even need to, So between the inflation with Biden and following the news for the first time, really in her life, she voted Republican for the first time in her life. She was red-pilled. And I'm of the opinion that most of your families are that way too, meaning that most of your families, like mine, are almost 100% MAGA, 100% Republican. Now, I know the Pope is registered Republican. This was reported by Fox News the day that he was announced as the Pope. The Pope Leo is a registered Republican, and in every election he ever voted in, locally and federally, in Illinois, was Republican, and he ran the pro-life club in Villanova. Now, I know he's critical of JD and on immigration issues, but it's absolutely amazing that his brother not only is MAGA, I mean, he's posting things that I wouldn't post, because I don't post things with profanity and things like that. Not often, maybe on occasion, but not like that. I mean, he's posting, the Pope's brother, some really hardcore MAGA stuff, isn't he? It's no getting around it. It's pretty cool, actually, when you think about it, isn't it? I think it is. So hopefully the brother's got a little MAGA inside of him too. I did watch today. I don't watch too many movies anymore, but I watched this movie Conclave, and the only reason I watched it is because they just had the Conclave for the Pope. I've never seen it. It hooked me in too, because the beginning of the movie was actually quite interesting. The reason I watched it, I wanted to see how the Conclave worked. And it is the most anti-Christian movie I've seen in quite some time. In fact, Conclave, because everyone's talking about Conclave now because we got the new Pope. They just had the Conclave, right? So it's getting a lot of publicity. I would say that this movie Conclave is as offensive as The Last Temptation of Christ was back when that came out with Defoe. Defoe was lucky to have his career after that, okay? That was pretty bad what they did. I don't know if you guys want me to spoil it, let me know, and maybe I will on the air this week. I'm not going to get into it now, but it was so offensive. Oh my goodness. I mean, Conclave is really bad, man. The way that movie ends is so anti-Christian, and I am shocked that the anti-Christian nature of it hasn't leaked out, because everything I've heard about it is good, and I'm here to tell you, don't watch it. In fact, I think maybe tomorrow on the morning show, I might go through the movie and spoil it. Okay. I mean, does anyone care if I spoil Conclave? I'll do the disclaimers. Okay. I'll do spoiler alert. And then I'm going to spoil it because I have to spoil it to talk about it. And I watched it. So, it really shows you what the left think about. And I should have known, because John Lithgow is one of the cardinals in it. And he's a fine actor, John Lithgow. I mean, he was good. But John Lithgow, if you remember, was the minister father of the girl in Footloose. And he was the one that had outlawed dancing in the town in Footloose, remember? Because it was sinful, and they had that car accident with kids who were heading to a dance. Remember all that? And he was an awful preacher in that movie. It really had put a bad face on Christianity. But I thought when it came on and I didn't know John Lithgow was in it, and he's right in the beginning. And I thought, well, he's a lot older now, so maybe he's changed. And no. Nope. It's bad. And I will put it up there with Last Temptation of Christ, anti-Christian movie, Conclave. So maybe tomorrow, I'll see. I'll go through the offensive nature of it to Christians. I want to talk about Tom Leaporta at Leaporta Roofing. It's hurricane season here in Florida. If you're in the state of Florida and you need roof replacement or repair, Tom Leaporta is your guy. He's a good MAGA man. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need. If you need just a simple repair, he'll do it. Tom Leaporta told me about something a few weeks ago that I found shocking. I did not know this, that in Florida, if you're a roofer and you have a license, right, you're a contractor, you can loan your license to somebody and they can actually
run an entire roofing company on your license, even if they don't have roofing experience. I'm sure they don't loan it. It's probably you pay them to do it. I couldn't believe that. Tom Leaporta, he showed me the books that he studied to get his contractor's license, to get all of his licensing and his credentials. It's like a law library size of books. It's amazing. He has all of his certifications and all of his own licensing. You got to really be careful. In hurricane season, there's nothing more important than your roof. And if you have a leak in your roof, that means you got a loose shingle, a loose tile. You don't want those hurricane or tropical storm winds coming in through there. He works on both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. Tom Leaporta Roofing also works with every type of roofing material and on every type of structure. Residential, commercial, municipal. He even does church roofs and has done many a church roof. Give him a call. And he can handle a job of any size as well. So if you have one office building, one small single family home, or an HOA, or an office complex, or a community, or an apartment complex, or a condo community with 300, 400 units, he can handle that too. A job of any size is no problem. This number rings directly to Tom Leaporta's cell phone. You can call or text 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. That's for Tom Leaporta at Leaporta Roofing. All right. Oh, yeah. Online, LeaportaRoofing.com. I'm Brian. We'll be right back. Are you seeking strength and comfort during life's toughest times? The new book from pastor, husband, father, survivor of severe trauma, and author Zack Minton, Hope for the Broken Soul, is here to help and guide you. With Hope for the Broken Soul, you'll experience a transformative journey through faith and divine intervention. The author found hope in his darkest moments and wants to share that journey with you. In Hope for the Broken Soul, you will learn to connect with God through His Word, prayer, and personal experiences. You'll see God's hand in every challenge, turning pain into a story of faith. Find strength and resilience in the face of trauma and hardship. Embrace the healing power of Jesus and witness transformation. Hope for the Broken Soul is for everyone, whether you read a lot or just occasionally. Its concise and impactful message invites you to explore its depths. Join author Zack Minton as he recounts his journey through severe trauma and offers hope and guidance for similar struggles. Hope for the Broken Soul is a source of comfort for anyone who's seeking peace and purpose. Begin your journey to healing right now and order your copy of Hope for the Broken Soul from author Zack Minton, available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and Kindle Unlimited, as well as the website hopeforthebrokensoul.com. Hope for the Broken Soul from author Zack Minton. Order your copy right now. Do you or anyone you know and love have cancer? Have you been struggling, searching for real answers about the safety and effectiveness of the ketogenic diet? Do you know what to eat? Do you have questions on what supplements to take and whether keto is okay when on chemotherapy or radiation treatment? From author Dr. Jocelyn L. Tan comes a powerful new research backed by science and written in plain language. Keto Oncology, a comprehensive guide, available on Amazon. Author Dr. Tan is a medical oncologist, an associate professor at the University of Pittsburgh, the founding director of the Pittsburgh VA's Integrative Oncology Department, and board certified in lifestyle medicine as well as medical acupuncture. And she shares her expertise in this nearly 500-page guide that explores how ketogenic metabolic therapy may help fight cancer, not just support weight loss. With Keto Oncology, you'll learn what to eat, what supplements to consider, and how keto reacts with chemotherapy and radiation. Everything is grounded in research, not blogs or opinions. Endorsed by leading cancer metabolism expert, Dr. Thomas Seyfried, Keto Oncology is not a cookbook. It's a breakthrough science-based guide for patients and caregivers who want clarity, hope, and options. Order your copy right now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, or visit KetoONC.com. Knowledge is power. Give yourself or someone you love the gift of both. Keto Oncology, a comprehensive guide from author Dr. Jocelyn L. Tan. Tired of dry, dusty history? Pink History with host Andrea is the podcast that brings the past to life. Pink History is a lighthearted journey through the lives of trailblazing women who changed our world. From fearless warriors like Joan of Arc, artistic icons such as Frida Kahlo, to heroines like Anne Frank. Each episode of Pink History brings you quirky stories, surprising facts, and inspiring legacies, all with a fresh, spirited twist that makes history anything but boring. Whether you're a history buff, a curious learner, or just love a good story, Pink History is here to educate, entertain, and empower. So what are you waiting for? Add Pink History to your podcast playlist right now on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and TikTok. Tune in each week to meet the women who made history loud, bold, and unforgettable. History's never been this fun. Pink History. Tune in right now. Philomena Kunk, the UK's queen of deadpan satire. She's made you laugh and cringe. And now there's a podcast all about this TV icon, Kunked, a very unofficial podcast. That's CUNKD on all podcast platforms. Kunked covers the brilliantly awkward world of Philomena Kunk, hosted by a razor-sharp Brit and a witty American who unpack every ridiculous moment with clever commentary and cultural banter. If you love Philomena Kunk satire, absurdity, and laughing till it hurts, Kunked is for you. So be sure to check out Kunked on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Kunked. Start listening right now.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
We have a special message from Dan Bangino, who is the Deputy Director of the FBI. And it's a big one, and we're going to cover it. You know, the lawfare people, don't worry. They're going to be brought to justice, right? I mean, you know, President Trump knows how important this is because he and his family will be harassed for the rest of their lives if they don't bring these monsters, these criminals, to justice. Leticia James got her grand jury summons over her mortgage fraud. And, you know, I have heard some people say, well, yeah, but, you know, they're getting her on this mortgage fraud, but they're not getting her on the lawfare. They didn't get Al Capone for the murders he committed. They got Al Capone on income tax evasion, right? So with these criminals that are involved in organized criminal operations, you get them with what you can get them on. And Leticia James' crimes are federal crimes, pretty severe, a major paper trail because her signature's on everything. She is going to go to prison for years and years and years. She is guilty as the day is long. So that's lawfare indictment number one with Leticia James. And I think Leticia is one of the heads of the whole lawfare committee against President Trump, because if you notice, the fake charges that she brought up against President Trump mainly were for the crime she had been committing, mortgage fraud. And it's like, well, it's like the committee of the Stop Trump people during the campaign got together, the lawfare criminals. What can we go after him on? What can we create? And she came up with this mortgage fraud idea because since she's doing it, allegedly, according to the reports and the charges and all that, she knows the ins and outs of that crime. So she just charged him with the things she herself has been accused of doing. So we already have our first lawfare grand jury that we know of, and that's Leticia James with the mortgage fraud. And there very well could be many other grand juries, even indictments that are sealed. Remember, grand juries are secret. In the past, you've heard about them only because they were illegally leaked, and the Trump administration doesn't leak. So Dan Bangino sent out a message, and I want to share this to you. And this is to MAGA world, okay? This is Dan Bangino, just until I tell you it's not. I'd like to update you on some things that I think are going well and some things that we can and will do better. The workforce has been working overtime on task force operations to remove dangerous illegal aliens from the country. The work continues. The message is clear. If you came here illegally to prey on our citizens, your days here are numbered. Okay, so that tells you that the resources have been tied up with the deportations. If you came here illegally to prey on our citizens, your days are numbered. These removal and incarceration operations will dramatically change the crime landscape in the country when combined with the administration's laser focus on sealing the border shut. Expect these operations to ramp up, not slow down. Crimes against children are a priority for the workforce. I guess that's what they call the FBI, the workforce. Operation Restoring Justice, where we locked up child predators and 764 subjects in every part of the country, is just beginning. We're going to take your freedom if you take away a child's innocence. Think twice if you've targeted children because you're next. He goes on. This was a long message from Bangino. We're clearing information to Congress and the public as quickly as possible in just the couple of months since we've sworn in. We've responded to requests for information on the attack on Representative Steve Scalise and members of Congress, the Nashville attack, Crossfire Hurricane, and the COVID cover-up, and more. We are working with the DOJ on the Epstein case, and as the AG stated, there are voluminous amounts of downloaded child sexual abuse material that we are dealing with. I want to stop about that. I know a lot of people are saying, why don't they just release the tapes? The children that are adults now, probably, hopefully, maybe they don't want to be identified, and they have to make sure that when they release these tapes, the Attorney General, the Justice Department, FBI, that they don't mistakenly reveal a victim's identity. Would you want to be, if you were one of these victims, you may not want to be in the public eye, and the whole world would be on you, and your life may be in danger if you're a victim, and then you get identified by these. You've seen what's happened lately. Back to Bangino. We need to do this correctly, Bangino writes, but I do understand the public's desire to get the information out there. We're doing our best in the current budgetary environment to prioritize the mission, act as good fiscal stewards, find waste and inefficiencies, and enact reforms while moving the FBI forward. It hasn't been easy, but we'll get it done. We have weekly meetings where we meet with our CFO and our new CIO and CTO team, and we go through budget items line by line. It's your money and it's your FBI. We won't forget that. I have no desire to sugarcoat this one. All right, here we go. I have no desire to sugarcoat this one. It's been difficult in this new role to stay relatively quiet while certain elements of the media continue to entirely fabricate stories about what we're doing at the FBI. But that's part of the job as a public servant. I don't work for myself anymore. I work for the public. And while I can't address all the nonsense in this one post, I will address the repeated attacks on Director Patel. The director's office is attached to mine. I'm in most of the briefings he is in. He spends anywhere between 10 to 12 hours in the office attending meetings with everyone from foreign heads of law enforcement to our counter-terror teams and more. Any assertion otherwise is a verifiable lie designed to stop our reforms and fracture your trust. I will die on this hill. You are being clearly lied to by people with an agenda, and it's not your agenda. Thanks for allowing me to communicate with you on this channel. Other things are happening as well, and they will become evident in the coming weeks and months. Keep watching us and holding us accountable. God bless America and all those who defend her. Now, Dan Bangino posted that on his official deputy director of the FBI Twitter. And that's really unprecedented, especially from the Trump administration, to put that much out. So, you have to take satisfaction in that we've got Leticia James, the first lawfare criminal. And if she's one of the leaders of, she's facing so much, she's definitely a leader. And not the leader, but she's definitely, she's a capo in the lawfare crime family. She's facing possibly the rest of her life in prison. These are a lot of crimes she's being accused of. Okay. She's 66 years old. And in federal prison, you have to do 80% of your time before you are eligible for parole. All right. So at her age, looks like a life sentence, quite possibly. She would probably be very open to talking. Okay, she would probably be very open to talking, and to try to shave some of those years off, talking about who she conspired with and how all of this went down. So we got our first lawfare with her, and to me, it sounds like from Bangino that they're doing everything that we want them to do. So we just got to be a little more patient. I know it's difficult. All right, I get it. You know, I'm with you guys. I mean, I want all these indictments yesterday, but that's not exactly what's happening. We just have to be patient with it. And you know what? That's okay. You know, you want these indictments to come down perfectly so that there aren't any technicalities and everything that get them thrown out. So let me know your thoughts in the comments on that. But I think the message from Bangino is an important and powerful one. Now, if you guys would like to support not just my podcast, but all the content I bring you, which includes the radio show, my YouTube channel, my podcast, and everything I do, go to mypillow.com and use my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, and load up, man. I mean, and it's every time, you know, Mike Lindell's been a sponsor and supporter of my content for years and years. Okay. And he doesn't do it because he's a charity. He's doing it because you in this audience use my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, at mypillow.com, and you buy all these great products from Mike Lindell. And I'm in regular contact with Mike and his office and his assistants. I talk to them at least once a week. And the response from you in this audience has been fantastic. And thank you very much. And remember, you can use my promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout on all the specials. But right now, the Giza Dream Sheets are just $49.98, any size, any color. Now, these are the sheets that Kathy and I sleep on. We have the other My Pillow sheets on our guest bed, but on our bed in our master bedroom, we have the 100% Giza Cotton Dream Sheets. And remember, Giza Cotton is the finest cotton in the world. It keeps you the perfect temperature no matter what the temperature is in your room or your house. And the hot days of summer are coming. Today here in sunny South Florida, it's going to be 90 and the humidity is over 75%. And those Giza Dream Sheets, I'm cool and comfortable all night long. And it's $49.98 with my promo code Kane at checkout, any size, any color. So from twin and single, queen, king, California king, split king, whatever mattress size there is, they have sheets to fit it. And it's $49.98 for all sizes, even if you got that huge split king. Okay. And that's any color. And there's a lot of colors. So go to mypillow.com and use my promo code Kane at checkout. All right, guys, thanks so much. I appreciate that. Now, Mediaite, which is very liberal, they have an article today. MAGA civil war breaks out after Mark Levin accuses top Trump official of being a traitor. He's talking about Steve Wickoff, okay? And Mark Levin posted on Truth Social about Wickoff. And I'll read this to you from Mediaite. He was reacting to a clip of Steve Wickoff arguing, and Steve Wickoff had said the neocon element believes, neocons, that's the Bush Republicans, right? The never Trumpers in the Republican Party, the Republican establishment. The neocon element believes that war is the only way to solve things. And he shared this on the White House official rapid response account. And Levin got pissed. Now, and he wrote this in response to it, Mark Levin. LOL, the envoy talks like the fifth column isolationist. Nobody believes war is the only way. Mark Levin is either part of the neocons or naive. Wickoff is clearly talking about the Bush Republicans, right? The Nikki Haley crowd. And they are the warmongers, okay? They lied, knowingly gave false information to the American people so that we would support war in Iraq about WMDs. I wouldn't be surprised if all the conspiracy theories about 9/11, would you be surprised if Bush and Cheney knew in advance of that? I wouldn't, when we see their behavior with Iraq. And, they want war. They want total war. They want it all the time. Why do you think this Ukraine-Russian war started, right? 5 days, practically. It was a little more than that, but it was like the next day almost. The 20-year war in Afghanistan ends, and boom, they got another one with Ukraine and Russia. So come on. So Mark Levin, you remember Mark Levin
was in the Reagan administration. A lot of his ties and friendships are with those Bush Republicans. I know Trump says good things about him and has brought him in his wing, under his wing, and all of that. But this post is, to me, he sounds like a Bush Republican. You guys let me know. Let me read the whole thing. This is Mark Levin's response. I'll just read what Wickoff said again. Wickoff said the neocon element believes that war is the only way to solve things. Mark Levin wrote on Truth, LOL, the enemy talks like the enemy, the envoy. Well, I guess the envoy is his enemy. I'll start over. LOL, this is Levin. LOL, the envoy talks like the fifth column isolationist. Nobody believes war is the only way. We wait with great interest to see the deal you're negotiating with the warmonger Iranian terrorist regime. In the meantime, rather than sloganeering against patriotic Americans who love our country, use your name calling for the terrorist regime that has murdered Americans, tried to assassinate our president, chance death to America, and lied its way towards a nuclear bomb. See, now here's the thing, and I stand by this. It is so important for MAGA to be united. We should all be united together. And if Levin's got a problem with Wickoff, talk about it in private to Wickoff. He could get him on the phone. President Trump loves Wickoff, and he trusts him. He speaks for the president in these negotiations. You know, the Democrats, they're in total disarray, right? All this stuff with David Hogg and Carville and Jasmine Crockett, and there's a lot of things going on. The Democrats are in such disarray with such division. They have no leader. They're in a civil war. There's a lot of struggling going on. We don't want that chaos in our party. Okay, so keep all this internal bickering to yourself. That's why I really didn't care for what James O'Keefe did this week, releasing this video about Pam Bondi. That was a big nothing burger. You know, why are we attacking members of the Trump cabinet? Well, we're not, but why is he attacking members of the Trump cabinet? Why is Mark Levin attacking one of President Trump's spokespeople and closest confidants, Wickoff, in the administration? That's bad news. And I'm of the opinion that we shouldn't do that. Now, maybe you think I'm wrong, and that's fine. But no, I don't think we should be criticizing our cabinet, our Republicans, unless they're the traitor, never Trumper Republicans, right? The Bush Republicans. Like I'm going to talk about Ron DeSantis in a moment. But no, this Mark Levin, very long post to True Social about Wickoff. Does he sound like he's with these Republican establishment people there? I think he does in the beginning, because they're all for war all the time. Now, Ron DeSantis, he's my governor. He's in his second term, and you can only have 2 terms as governor. Then your term limited out. And, you know, he's doing a lot of very MAGA-like things, okay? He really is. But we can never trust him again after the betrayal when he ran against Trump in the primary. And I believe that the never Trumpers who shot Trump and Butler. Now, I don't believe Ron DeSantis was a part of this plot. Okay, but I do believe that the never Trumpers behind the shooting of President Trump and Butler, what their plan is that day to turn out differently. And then nominate Nikki Haley to be president, because she was number 2 with delegates, even though, you know, she was so far behind, but she was number 2 from the primaries, and DeSantis was 3, and they were going to nominate Nikki Haley with Ron DeSantis running as her running mate. And then we would have had total war. The warmongers would have been in charge. And the Bush Republicans, the never Trumper Republicans, they haven't given up. They're biding their time, and they're planning for a comeback. And they believe when Trump is no longer president, that like the Tea Party, the MAGA movement will fade away, and they're going to make their move. They're wrong about that, but you cannot trust Ron DeSantis. And he's proposing something that I hope he's successful at, because it affects me directly here in Florida, and it would save me quite a bit of money each and every year. Ron DeSantis wants to eliminate property taxes here in the state of Florida.
Level ongoing taxpayer.
No, you should own your property free and clear. I think to say that someone that's been in their house for 35 years just has to keep ponying up money, that is not, you don't own your home if that's the case. So yes, of course, I'd like to see people be able to free and clear. And it's interesting because it's like you know, if I go to Best Buy and buy a flat screen TV and put it on the wall, I got to pay a sales tax on it, right? But I don't keep paying tax on it every year. I mean, it's just not, that's not how we do things. It's like, okay, if you're going to tax something, you tax it at the transaction and then let people actually enjoy their private property free and clear of the government. So that, I think, is the vision. That's the philosophical insight. And if you think about our founding fathers, when they were proposing the Constitution in one of the Federalist Papers, I think it was Hamilton, he's writing about, because, you know, there was opposition to the Constitution. They were making a more powerful federal government than under the Articles of Confederation, and people worried about taxation. And they didn't have, obviously, a 16th Amendment, which eventually came on income tax, but basically you were not effectively allowed to do any direct taxation. It had to be indirect, meaning you couldn't just, I mean, you could theoretically just apply like a tax on land federally, but it'd have to be a portion among the states. So practically it could never work. So basically Hamilton's saying, look, the indirect taxes are the most effective, efficient way to raise revenue for the government, because they basically allow the individual to choose how much tax they want to pay based on how much they're consuming. And there's a security, there's a protection against excessive tax in that regard, because if the government raises consumption tax too much, it kills the golden goose, because then it causes people to stop purchasing as much. But he said taxing property is one of the worst forms of taxation, because people don't have a choice in the matter, and you're just basically drilling these folks over and over again on tax. And so it's an issue that I think's pinched a lot of people, but philosophically, it was not the way that that the federal government was constructed. Now, I understand local, there was a history of it, and that's kind of been...
Okay, so he's going on some more, but he sounds right there. Everything he says is right and perfect and everything. Don't trust him. Don't fall for it. You can never trust this guy. Now, he'll be successful with this. You know, ending the property tax in Florida, this would be amazing. You know, in Florida, not only do we not have a state income tax, which I know many of you do around the country. Not every state does, but a lot do. We don't have a state income tax. In fact, the Florida state constitution forbids a state income tax. And property taxes in Florida, we have a homestead exemption, which shaves a little bit off, but it's a lot. And in the state of Florida, 80% of homeowners in the state of Florida, 80% live with an HOA. That's a homeowners association. And homeowners association fees are pretty excessive in some areas. I've lived in my house for 21 years. My property taxes are not cheap. Plus, we have an HOA, a homeowners association. But one of the reasons, one of the reasons we moved to this house that we're in now 21 years ago, it's a very low HOA. But there are people that pay hundreds of $1,000s a month in homeowners association fees, depending on where you live. In fact, a couple years ago, we were going to move to a brand new house, new construction in a place called Port St. Lucie, Florida, a place called Tradition. It's a very nice community. And in St. Lucie County, which is the county just north of Palm Beach County. And the community had not one, not two, but three homeowners association fees. So we didn't do it. And a lot of people in Florida are retired. They've either lived here all their career and retired here, or they moved from another state, right? And they own their homes with no mortgage, but then they're shocked that they've got the property taxes, which are not cheap. They've got the HOA fees, which can be excessive. And then because of the hurricanes, our homeowners association fee our property insurance in Florida is through the roof. Mine has gone up every year for the past few years. Everybody in Florida is talking about it. It's a lot of money. And people are really struggling, especially retirees, because the insurance, now we got the HOA fees, and then we've got the taxes. But I hope he's successful and rids us of our excessive property taxes, and we don't have them anymore. And it looks like what he's talking about is having like a sales tax on the purchase of a home. But in Florida, we have some big industries, tourism and a lot of agriculture. And they'll probably tax through that. Okay. but he's doing a lot of Doge-like work. And he's not the only Republican that is a never Trumper, because make no mistake about it, Ron DeSantis is indeed a never Trumper. Okay. And there's a lot of these guys running around and they're looking to trick you. And you've got to be very careful not to let them trick you and let you think that they are on our side, because they are not on our side. No matter what the man says, never, never, never trust Ron DeSantis. And it's really bad. Even though I want him to be successful with this one thing, you can't trust him.
Technology is evolving faster than ever. It's shaping the way we play, connect, and innovate. Join brothers Cody and Michael on Tech and Tactile, the podcast where gaming, technology, and accessibility collide. Tech and Tactile explore the latest trends in video games, gadgets, and adaptive tech, while advocating for accessibility for all players and users, including those with disabilities. With personal stories, expert insights, and real conversations about breaking barriers, Tech and Tactile is a must-listen to for gamers, tech lovers, and anyone passionate about making digital spaces open to everyone. Don't just scroll. Press play and be a part of the movement. Listen right now on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and techandtactile.com. That's TECHNTACTILE. Add Tech and Tactile to your podcast playlist right now. What does success really mean? Fame? Fortune? A dream job? Author Stephen Armstrong challenges the world's shallow definition of success and offers something deeper, something eternal in his book, Fear or Faith: Finding Success in Christ. Available on Amazon. This must-read book explores the tension between fear-driven ambition and faith-filled purpose, helping readers uncover the true meaning of success through the lens of Jesus Christ. It's not about chasing empty goals. It's about aligning your life with God's calling. Author Stephen Armstrong invites you to reflect on life's biggest questions and equips you with spiritual insight to break free from superficial pursuits and discover what truly matters. Whether you're starting your journey or seeking a course correction, Fear or Faith bridges the gap between worldly ambition and spiritual fulfillment, because real success doesn't end at a title, it begins with truth. Fear or Faith: Finding Success in Christ, from author Stephen Armstrong, is available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and Kindle Unlimited. Order your copy right now and begin your journey. What if everything you've been through, every setback, every heartbreak, was leading you to something greater? 225 Moments with M. Nicole is the faith-driven podcast that turns trials into victories. Inspired by Joel 2:25, 225 Moments with M. Nicole is a powerful podcast that shares real stories of restoration, resilience, and breakthrough. On each episode, host M. Nicole, who's a manifestation coach and purpose-driven visionary, has conversations that ignite faith, align purpose, and unlock transformation. From surrendering to God's timing to recognizing when blessings don't look like blessings, 225 Moments with M. Nicole will uplift, empower, and awaken possibility. Are you ready to manifest the life God has for you? Then add 225 Moments with M. Nicole to your podcast playlist right now on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and all podcast platforms.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
More information just came out of the White House on the China trade deal. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. This is an official press release. U.S. announces China trade deal in Geneva. Secretary of State writes, I'm happy to report that we made substantial progress between the United States and China in the very important trade talks. First, I want to thank our Swiss host. The Swiss government has been very kind in providing us this wonderful venue, and I think that led to a great deal of productivity we've seen. We will be given the details tomorrow. It was in the audio. But I can tell you that the talks were productive. We had a vice premier, two vice ministers who were involved. Ambassador Jameson and myself and I spoke to President Trump, as did Ambassador Jameson last night. He's fully informed, and it's a done deal. You know, what's going on with President Trump is a lot. But one of the main things is that he's putting America back in its proper place. You know, we have been chumps, just chumps, right? These countries around the world have been ripping us off with the trade deals. And it's not their fault. It's the fault of our sellout leaders that are all on the take, like Joe Biden, all of them. And, you know, what an embarrassment our country has gone through with these corrupt people. You know, we look at third world countries and see how corrupt they are, right? How corrupt Ukraine is, Latin America, places like Haiti, all this corruption that goes on. But we've been, before Trump and Doge, the most corrupt of all. And the left just don't seem to ever want to get involved and admit any of this. But that's what's happened. We are the most corrupt country in the world because of the size of the treasury of the country, right? I mean, look at everything Doge found out. There's so much money involved. There's corruption everywhere, you know, and corruption's an open way of life in so many countries around the world. But it's really been an open way of life in this country. Maybe we've just been in denial about it, huh? Now, I was talking earlier about the MAGA civil war that's been going on. And, you know, it's so important for us not to be fighting amongst ourselves. It really, truly is. I mean, there's no getting around it, you know, and the Democrats are cheering themselves up. This is...
Lady, why don't you just...
Okay, this is James Carville talking about... Who's he talking about here? He's talking... Is this Ilhan Omar? Let me play this one. Because he's really going after all the... Omar... He's going after Crockett. He's going after David Hogg. He's going after AOC. He's been going after all of them. So it's kind of hard to keep track of which one he's going over at any particular time. Listen.
Lady, why don't you just get out the Democratic Party?
Yeah,
honestly.
This one's Ilhan Omar he's talking about, I'm pretty sure.
Lady, why don't you just get out the Democratic Party? Honestly, start your own movement. All right, let's do the simple math. Probably 69%, I don't know, we could call Jim Gerstein or Jeff Garrett. Roughly 69% of the people going to vote in November, maybe more. Let's do 70 for just round math. Are going to be white.
Oh, this is great. This is the Ilhan Omar. The biggest threat are white men.
Of that, 48%, maybe a little more, are going to be male. So that's roughly, let's just call it 33 1/3% of the entire election. Well, let's just run against them because that's so goddamn smart.
Oh my goodness!
All right. So now we're going to have a campaign by the progressive left against white men who vote about a third of everybody that votes in an election. Why don't you, lady, start your own party? And then when it's over, if you want to caucus with the Democrats, fine. We agree with a lot of things that you do, but we don't believe we ought to be running against white men. In fact, we don't think we ought to be running against any gender, any ethnic group, any race, any religion, or anything else. God damn, these people are just helpless. They cannot be helped. There's nothing you can do to help them. They don't want to be helped. And if they had any guts, they'd start their own goddamn political party and get out of ours.
Yeah, he's pissed. Good. That's great. I love it. We do not want unity in the Democrat Party. Now, I want to talk about Dr. Appleton and his laser wave pain treatment. And so many of you I know have become patients of Dr. Appleton and have said bye-bye to your pain too. You know, one in particular, this one, I never even thought about some of the things when I meet people. You know, I was at Dr. Appleton's office one day on a Saturday when I had hurt my shoulder last time when I fell off the skateboard, and I ran into a listener, and he owns a carpet installation company, and he spent his whole life on his knees putting in carpet, and he was in bad shape, and he went and saw Dr. Appleton, and I ran into him in the parking lot. He says, "Man, I can work again." He was getting nervous, like he was going to have to not work, close down his company, sell his company, you know, but he got his knees back. He was able to keep his company because his knee pain's gone. I mentioned one of our MAGA cruisers, Gary, had arthritis pain in his neck, gone. And I've been so many of you who, like me, have gone to see Dr. Appleton and said bye-bye to your pain too. Give him a call. You know, we have listeners that have traveled from all over the United States to see Dr. Appleton, and it's a trip well worth taking. Give him a call. Now, appointments are not necessary and walk-ins are welcome. even on Saturdays. But if you're coming from out of town or out of state, you can make appointments, by the way. You just don't have to. But if you're coming from out of town, if you're flying in or something, call and make an appointment. But you don't have to. You can walk in even if you're flying from out of state. But if I'm flying from out of state, I'm going to make the appointment. Dr. Appleton's great. His laser treatment works. It's 100% painless. There's no shots, no injections, no drugs, no surgery, no downtime. It works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. And you guys have heard me talk about him for the last over 2.5 years on how he's rid me of pain 7 times. It works. Give him a call, 954-973-0710. It's a no-charge consultation. And don't forget, if you have x-rays or scans, bring them with you. Dr. Appleton will gladly look at them, okay? 954-973-0710 and online, AppletonCairo.com. Okay, so, you look at what's happening here. We found out from Tom Homan that they have deported over 100,000 illegals. And a lot of people, I thought there were 20 million, 100,000. Well, they've gone after the worst of the worst, right? So that's 100,000 plus that they've gotten out are some hardcore dudes. I mean, there's no getting around it. I mean, just some of the worst. So you have to factor that in, and once we get those people out, it won't take as many ICE agents to deport regular that are, they're criminals because they're here, but the ones that aren't like the Trinde or the MS-13ers. It's much easier to deport those, the people that aren't those, than the ones that are. What a great thing, and crime rates are going to start dropping all over the country. But, a lot of these local municipalities, they make so much money off the illegals. Just by their kids in school, they get money in their community from the illegals. And there's many other ways. And they'll be slow to report a decrease in crime, okay? But in their communities. But believe me, crime will go down. Now, President Trump has done something just absolutely amazing. Boeing they were supposed to deliver Air Force One. Remember, President Trump, he really gave them a hard time about building the new Air Force One. He worked out a good deal, but then he wasn't in office and they went back to their old business. And that was supposed to be delivered this year, and it's not done. So he's been working on a deal to get a plane from Qatar and have it refitted. And it's a beautiful plane. And Axios is reporting Qatar wants to give him the plane and have it remodeled over here and do whatever they got to do for Air Force One. This whole thing with the Air Force One is more than just one plane. It's an entire fleet of planes. There's two of at least in the current fleet, they have two of the big ones that look identical. Then they have the smaller ones, which sometimes the president takes. But, this whole thing with Boeing, it goes back to how much of a ripoff that's been going on. And, when the big, beautiful bill comes out, and it will come out with these massive tax cuts, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, the extension of the Trump tax cuts, which I hope they make permanent. And this is just the first tax reduction bill that we're going to get from President Trump. The Democrats, if you go back, they always have the same argument. Okay, tax cuts, it sound like a good idea, but how are you going to pay for them? Because you got to pay for the federal government. Now that we've had the books opened of the federal government to see how much money they're stealing, the Democrats aren't going to have that argument. It's not going to fly. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not going to try it, and the liberals that call me and troll my chat rooms and everything on YouTube may try to run that argument, but it's not going to be credible. They have one of their biggest campaign issues the Democrats have as we approach the midterms, right? Because we'll be talking about those before you know it, is that they got to stop Republican tax cuts. That's one thing they always talk about. And they're going to have a hard time doing that when we see how much money they've been ripping us off for, huh? That's right. And I'll tell you this, when the big, beautiful bill comes out, it's only going to be the first. They'll have another big tax cut bill as we approach the midterms. And we very well may be the first incumbent to maybe gain seats in the House in the midterms. I don't know. It's a long way off, and a lot can happen. Historically, the party in power loses in the midterms, but Trump's so popular and what they're doing is so unpopular, we could gain. And I think that the big issue is going to be in the next presidential election, it's going to be ending the income tax. That's what I think is going to be the big issue, right? Because for the next presidential election. So things could not be going better. Don't let anyone convince you that they're not. You know, the Trump second term is going like clockwork. But you know, the fake news media, they're not going to tell you these things. So you got to come to me and people like me to find out what's really going on. This is an example of exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, listen to this. This is a transgender colonel in Space Force talking about how much the military has spent on transgender troops and service personnel. Listen.
So you have been in for 20 years, and a lot of the time they talk about, oh, it's just too expensive to take care of our trans troops. It's just the medical care is so expensive. Mm-hmm. How much do you think the military has invested in your 20-year career?
Well, in me in particular, they've given me multiple degrees, tons of classes.
This is the transgender colonel.
And the ability to design and develop our nation's most advanced technology.
So they're just throwing that away.
And there are decades invested in me and millions of dollars in me and thousands of other transgender service members. I mean, when you add it up, we're talking probably $1 billion invested into us or more that would be out the door. And we don't develop commanders and colonels in a day. Right. It takes time to build those leaders who are capable of training the next generation and making sure we have this unbroken line of service members ready to fight tonight and defend this nation's interests.
Yeah, and nothing scares the enemy more than the transgendered colonel there. You know, the $1 billion, that's just on the transgender troops. I was watching interview with a guy that got out of the Army. He was a sergeant. I don't know what level sergeant he was. I don't know if he was 3 stripes or more, but he was a sergeant in the Army. And he got out during Biden, and he told a story that happened to him. And he says, when this happened, I knew the Army was done. And when his enlistment was up, he didn't re-up. Maybe he'll go back in now. The Trump's back. I don't know. But this is what he said happened. And he had some guys under his, in his platoon, and he said it is a big regulation that you cannot have military weapons in your private vehicle, in your personal private vehicle. And a private in his platoon, they were going to the gun range or something to do something. And he put his rifle loaded in his personal vehicle and was driving it around the base. And he said he was getting calls from all over the base about the big deal. So the guy shows up, the private shows up, he chewed him out. And he said, I chewed him out, told him everything, yelled at, then had him do push-ups. And he says, when you're a sergeant in the Army, he says, the way it works is you have them do push-ups till you're tired of watching. And he said there was a woke lady sergeant who outranked him who came up and said, what are you doing? And he told her the story, and she told him to stop, that she was being too hard on him. Yeah, I know. Isn't that something? I mean, the woke has been purged. And that's one of the reasons that Pete Hegseth was the perfect choice for President Trump, because Pete Hegseth is what I call a man's man. If you don't know what a man's man is, you're probably woke. He's a man's man, a John Wayne type. And you need that kind of leader at the Pentagon to weed out and purge all aspects of wokeness from the military. He is the perfect person for the job that has to be done. I mean, the biggest threat to the United States military right now is it's not Iran, it's not Russia, it's wokeism, isn't it? And that's what they're purging out. So there's no one better than Pete Hegseth to purge the woke from the military. Then they can worry about the foreign threats. But that's the biggest threat is the woke. That's just destroying the service. Now, if you would like to support the program, become a Patreon supporter. If you're a Patreon supporter, you get commercial-free editions of each of our podcast episodes that only Patreon supporters have access to if you become a Patreon supporter. And you can become a Patreon supporter for just $5. Our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out. So the names you'll hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John S., Frank, Dale, David, Laura, Rob, and SFjr. Thanks so much. Those are our top Patreon supporters. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode. My name is Brian.